how we have to actually move energy when we release emotion is we need to be out of judgment, because anytime we're in judgment, it goes back in. So most of us, when we cry or we get mad, there's not a part of us going, it's okay, let it out. I got you. It's okay. It's more, I hate this. I hate crying. When is this going to be over? We're judging ourselves. We're judging the situation. We're having commentary about the emotion. We're making it mean something. We're blaming ourselves. We're blaming another person. We're having guilt. Like there's this whole thing going on mentally while the emotion is moving. And so the emotion tries to come up and out, and then it hits all this mental judgment. It's like, whoop, just goes back in. And so learning how to move, especially anger and grief, anger and sadness, rage and sadness, all those things with compassion, like really being in that compassionate place so we can actually release it, then we actually make space for the love, the forgiveness, all of those things. I really work single moms. Like, I don't know how they do it. I really don't.
So what are you doing to manage?
She has a little outdoor school that she goes to 4 hours a week, 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. And then I'm just working at night.
At night? Are you getting enough sleep?
No. I haven't slept in 3.5 years.
Oh my gosh. Jeez. Does she want to go to school?
Oh, yeah. She loves it.
I was like that. I was begging my mom to put I went to school at 2.
Yeah.
I was begging her.
Yes. She loves it.
Yeah.
And it's a little nature. They go to, I drop her off at the lagoon or like
Yeah.
a hike, and they just stay outside, and she comes back super dirty, and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she loves her teacher. So.
Oh my gosh.
It works.
Because she's very energetically aware. So how has that impacted you?
It's brought up my own childhood stuff of, wow, like I expressed it in a different way though. So I'm a different design than her. And so I internalize more where she expresses more. And so in a big way, she's showing me like where I don't express in my own life. And I'm having to learn how to be with like a really big energy. She's a really big energy. And so I'm having to recalibrate. And so is my husband. Yeah. So I'm really having to like recalibrate my system a lot and learn how to survive on very little sleep. And because I was like exceptional at self-care. I mean, I have the sauna and the red light and the, you name celery, like I have it all. And I just don't have space for that anymore. So it's like a different orientation too. And she's also not 3.5 yet. So those first 3 years, like you're pretty intertwined. And so now we're starting to have some more separation. And I breastfed for 3 years. So we were very like intertwined. So we're just starting to get a little space.
Yeah. You really, when we're here to teach something, we go to the edges of learning it. I'm like, you really, I'm curious about your relationship. I wanted to ask you about that because I look at the two of you and I think that must be really, to be in a relationship with two strong personalities and two coaches, like actual coaches with that level of awareness. I'm curious what that dynamic is like.
A friend once asked us, I didn't know 2 quarterbacks could live in the same house.
Yeah. I wonder about that.
Oh, I think we have to be committed to our polarity. That's a big thing. And really big agreements, not expectations. And not be each other's coach.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, is really take self-responsibility, have a coach. Like that's something, as coaches we really value. And to remember that we're each other's husband and wife, and like in relationships are a level playing field no matter how much consciousness work you do, because it's your mirror and stuff's gonna come up. And I think actually us coming into the relationship with as much work as we did made us a bit spiritually arrogant. And so I think we were quickly humbled in terms of, we're still going to have to work a lot of this stuff out. And to know when we're coming from like our childhood stuff, like our, one of us being depleted or unresourced or whatever it is, and really take a lot of self-responsibility.
Yeah. Well, there's so many dynamics within that. I think about just the amount of space you hold for other people all the time. And you guys are both doing that. So then you come to each other, and how does that affect the dynamic?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've learned to do over 22 years of doing this is holding space for others does not drain me, because I don't take on anybody's stuff. I watch that I don't go into sympathy, right? As long as I stay in love and stay in compassion and keep the altitude of everyone has all the inner resources they need, and it's my job to hold the container. It's not my job to fix. I actually, holding space for people actually energizes me. It doesn't drain me. Really, I would say it's more having a child that makes you not want to parent your partner, right? So it's like, I'm momming 24/7. And so if my husband shows up kind of acting like a kid, I'm like, dude, I got no time for this. And I think for me too, so we really, try to come emotionally mature and not expecting each other to fix each other or to like be the parent we didn't have, because everybody has things about their parents that they wish would be different. And we consciously and subconsciously project that on our partner. It's a normal part of relationship, and just being aware of when we're doing it and knowing that it's not our partner's job to be the parent we never had. So just really staying out of that dynamic too helps a lot. And, since we do love the same things, like working together and like being in that space together is one of our like best zones to be in, is sharing this kind of work and consciousness and in supporting people and working together. I love that part of our relationship.
Yeah, I mean, that's powerful. A lot of couples feel like they can't work together. So I'm curious, in the moment, if your partner is needing to be parented or showing up like that, what do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah. Like, what do you say or do?
I acknowledge it. I'm like, that must be really hard. I bet you'll figure that out. Or like, I'm not going to do that for you. If he comes in and asks me where something is, I'm like, you live here? I bet you'll find it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same way you'd parent like even a teenager who's starting to individuate, or any child who's going through a developmental phase where they need a little bit more independence. But just having those boundaries of like, I'm not doing this dance with you.
So something that came up I told you I had so many things from this past weekend that I was like, I'm noting that because I want to bring that here. We were having a lot of conversations about relationships, and one of my good friends is single and really wants to meet her person. And one of our other friends there was talking about how he felt like she wasn't being open enough, and he was saying, the version of me that my wife met is not me now. And he was saying, from his perspective, that she needs to be aware of potential for people, and that not to expect people to be perfect. And so I said, okay, so yeah, people aren't going to be perfect. What's the balance between, people aren't going to be fully actualized or perfect, obviously. And also, and for context, we're both 30 versus dating a project, right? And so I wanted to bring that to you because I think this is something a lot of people navigate, right? Of like that balance between, okay, I don't want to expect everybody to be perfect, but you also don't want to parent an adult, right? You're not looking for a child, you're looking for a partner.
Right. Well, I'm going to answer this question with a personal story, and then we can break it apart. So I was married when I was 28, and I was divorced by the time I was 32-ish, something like that. And before that, I was engaged, and my fiance broke up with me. So I had been through a broken engagement and a divorce. And then pretty much the rest of my 30s, I spent single. A lot of it by choice, a lot of it not by choice. A lot of like really wanting to call someone in. And then around 40, and P.S., I like really don't think about how old I am or remember. That was one thing I decided in my 30s is like, I'm going to disassociate from this number because it's feeling like a lot of pressure. So I'm just going to actually like not even think about it. But for the purpose of the story, I'll give the timeline. So around 40, I was like, okay, I've taken dating advice. I've done the things. What is the block here? And the block actually was, I wasn't surrendered. I actually wasn't trusting God to bring my most perfect soul match to me. I was still attached to the way I wanted it to look, which I convinced myself with standards and my non-negotiables and not settling. And this is the one thing I especially women, I like to point out. Make sure your standards aren't coming from fear. So many of the things that we're like, I need this, is because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't have that. So if we're calling in someone from a place of what we don't want, by saying this is what I do want, then we're in the energetic of fear. And we all know how that goes when we try to call something in. And a lot of women, especially as we get older and we're independent, women slip into hypervigilance a lot. And we don't realize how much we're gripping the steering wheel of our life and telling ourselves, I'm manifesting, I'm being intentional. But there's a line between manifesting and being intentional and controlling. Sorry, I had my mic there. And so what I really got to is, wow, like I'm not actually in the energetic I'm claiming to be. And so on New Year's Eve in 2017, turning into 2018, I went out to my fire pit. I was living right on the beach. And I burned my list because, like, what woman doesn't have a list, right, of everything that you want? I burned it. And I said, okay, God, okay, universe. Like, and I can still feel in my body, like, okay, I trust. I trust and my higher self knows who my soul match is, what I'm desiring, what is really going to take me to the places in consciousness and relationship that I'm here for. And, like, I'm open, you pick. And it was scary because it was giving up control, and I had to watch the fear that would come up of, well, then I'm not going to get what I want. I'm going to have to settle. And that's the trap many of us fall into, is like, but if I don't get these things, then I'm settling, and then I'm going to be, and there's where the fear comes in, then I'm going to have a project, then I'm going to be the breadwinner, then I'm not going to have kids, then I'm, whatever the then and the fear is. So cut to April. And I'm at my friend's house because I had to move, and they were moving out. And so I was checking out their house, and my friend Akira said, can you look at this website? I'd love your feedback on it. So I sit down, I look at the computer, and on the screen was my husband's face because he was one of the co-founders of this company. I'm like, who's that? And they said his name, and I'm like, I'm not Stefano Stefandos. I'm like, that's a name you don't forget. Yeah. And I was just really drawn to him. And my friend said he lives in Australia, and he's really great. And I'm like, oh, I've been burned by someone. I spent time in Australia. Like, I don't know about Australian men. But there was my fear, right? I'm like, okay, yeah, I'd be open to introduction. I did have one non-negotiable when I was meeting someone, and that was that they're relationship ready. Because I do think that's important, because you can't force someone to be, especially a man, to be relationship ready when they're not. That's a decision that someone has to come to. And I didn't want to drag someone into a commitment. I wanted someone to be like, I'm looking for my person. I'm looking for my person. Let's go. And so she asked him, and he said yes. I'm making a very long story long, but I'll shorten it up. And we were introduced. We spent 3 months talking over WhatsApp. We met in Europe. And it was like an instant feeling of home when we met in person. And there was so much we talked about over WhatsApp. It was nice not to have the physical, because we really got to ask a lot of questions. But the one question I didn't ask about was money. And we were sitting about 4 days into our relationship, and I'm just like head over heels for this guy. And I'm like, so, we haven't really talked about money. And the list that I burned, one of my criteria was, has to make as much or more than me. And he his body language went inward, and he's like, well, I'm not really in a good place financially. And he really was not at all, like in debt, not making money. And I just felt my whole system like go, what? What? Like this guy is so perfect for me, and he's not making money. And so I had to really go inside and go, okay, Like, what am I really scared of? And for me, I was scared of having the responsibility of being the breadwinner and having the polarity like really off and not really being able to totally relax in my feminine and feel like someone had me. And then I had to ask, is money the only way a man can really like support me? Like, is that the only way my nervous system can feel safe? Because when I'm with this guy, I feel really safe. I feel really expressed. I feel really like me. Like, I'm not playing any games. I'm not saying I like camping when I don't. I'm not saying I like this music when I don't. I'm like being really, I told him I didn't like the beads he was wearing. They looked ridiculous. Like, I was being really honest. And so I had to redefine safety. And then I had to really look at, is this potential or project? And I spent time with him and I asked him a lot of questions, and he had a work ethic and he was clear about what he wanted. And what I realized is that he never had somebody that actually believed in him. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, I have two choices. I can coach him into building a business. That kills the polarity. I don't want him to be my client. Or I can be his muse. I'm like, I've never done that. And I just loved him and believed in him. And I opened a few doors, but he walked through them. He did the work. And within a year, he was out of debt and already on his way. And within 3 years, he matched me in terms of income. And so thank you for indulging me in that very long story. But I wanted to give that because you kind of need the whole context. And the point I want to make here is that there is a difference between project and potential, and someone doesn't always look like we think they would look. And often there's a huge learning opportunity in not getting what we want that isn't settling. I had to learn how to walk through really surrendering to the universe, letting go of control, which is a master addiction of mine, and shifting into an energetic of the feminine, because I know how to go in and fix things. And that was a temptation. Yeah. And I had to find like the power of love and really seeing someone, because that's what I wanted in return and what that would do. And to me, he didn't feel like a project because he had ambition and he had that work ethic and he had goals. And he was hungry. He wasn't just like, well, I think I want to write a manuscript, or I think I want to start a supplement business, he wasn't a free rider. And my nervous system didn't feel on edge. So I don't believe that anyone comes perfect, because where's the learning? Mm-hmm. Like especially for people that listen to the show, like they're here to learn. Yeah. And someone cannot look like you expected them to look. And I think if we close that door and ignore the way I think the biggest indicator is our body. If our nervous system and our body is feeling a yes, like a safety yes, not a fireworks yes, because that can be a different kind of red flag. But that safety yes, really unpacking what is really the fear that's in my way here from exploring something that actually could be a good fit for me.
Yeah. I love that story. I relate to a lot of that. I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, you need to be with somebody who makes more than you. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, that's not exactly what it's about though.
No, it's not.
And that's been one of the biggest things that I've learned is, like, for me, I realized if somebody is actually within themselves outside of anything else, like I'm like ambitious, mm-hmm. right? Doesn't matter where he's at right now financially. If he's the type of person that's going to handle it for himself. Yep. That's more of the quality that I need in somebody. Yeah. And I think that is true, that a lot of times having, for men and women, like having someone believe in you is really, really powerful.
It's really powerful.
Yeah.
And to not come from your own fears. Yeah. Right. But to really come from love. And that's the only way we know in a relationship is if we're coming from our fears and we're trying to control and we're contracting, we actually don't know if that relationship is a fit or not. It doesn't have to be romantic, work, anything. Like when we're coming from that fear and we're coming from control, masks are going to go up, protective patterns are going to be turned on, and we're actually not going to get clarity. And so for me, I was like, well, I'm just going to really give this my all and do what I think the universe is asking me to learn here and see what happens. Because I can make money. I wanted the feeling and the experience of like feeling safe and and feeling like I could trust, and feeling like a man just really had me emotionally.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't walk away from it.
Yeah. So I want to talk about how you release that control, or tips for people, because that's a big topic, I know, for people in the audience.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, more often than not, people are trying to use their manifestation to control. And I'm like, that's not what this is. No. This is not controlling. This is manifestation is not, my ego wants this, so I'm going to use this to, I'm like, that's not how this works. No. Right. And I think, well, I'm sure as people are listening to you talk, they're realizing, wow, a lot of my list is from fear, which I'm sure is going to be super illuminating. So how do you go about releasing that? How do you go about releasing that feeling, that need to control?
Yeah. Well, so often control is an extension of hypervigilance, which is a trauma response. So those of us for whatever reason felt like we didn't have control, we're big feelers as kids. We had to find a way to basically suppress our emotions. And one of the best ways to do that is to become very mental, become very hypervigilant, become super focused, achieve, all those things. And so for me, one of the biggest things I've had to do is actually learn how to release my emotions, to feel my feelings, because so much of the control is trying to repress any fear, any rage, any hurt that I have. And it's again, if we think of addiction, most addiction is to suppress a big feeling, right? So I've had to become really attuned to my feelings and be able to move them, to move that energy through anger release, through what I call like release writing, or actually release crying, which is different from recycling crying, to get in my body. I feel like a lot of times we try to go to like the spiritual realm and bypass the emotional and the somatic realm. And it's kind of just more mental. Yeah. And when we actually connect with our inner child, because she's the one that we're trying to protect through controlling. Whatever she's scared of is what we're trying to avoid. And so I've also have a really great dialogue with my inner child in terms of what do you need? Like, what are you scared of? Like, what? Tell me. Like, I'm here. Because as a kid, I really grew up learning how to read a room, which has been great for my career. But in terms of like my own self, my own relationship with my inner child, it was also like, it was often the I'm not okay unless you're okay. So I'm going to manage everyone out here so that I can be okay. And I've had to switch that around and really learn how to be okay here so that if things out there aren't okay, I'm still okay. Because that's the other way control shows up, is we don't want the discomfort. So we go in and think we're taking care of things, but we're self-abandoning a lot, which just amps up the hypervigilance. So in sum, it's been that emotional release work. It's been really connecting with my inner child. And then it's been remembering I'm not God. And this, not just a spiritual practice, but the knowing of like, I don't know. And really living in whatever's for the highest good. And it's challenging because it comes up for me. And this is the other thing. Most women have been validated and praised for our hypervigilance. It's been called, oh my gosh, you're so ambitious. You're so detail oriented. You're so reliable. You're so whatever. And so it's been, it's been part of our identity for so long. We actually don't realize it's control. We just think it's how we operate.
There's so much in there. I want to start with, because I read about this in your book, Expectation Hangover, which is amazing if anybody hasn't read it. There's so much in there. But this concept of releasing emotions versus recycling emotions, can you speak to that a bit? Because I love this. It's going to help so many people. Yeah.
And I actually just recorded that book on Audible.
Amazing.
In my voice, because the first one wasn't my voice. So I just recorded it.
Perfect.
For its 10-year anniversary. So this was huge for me because I would have a good cry or think, or in therapy, talk about something, but I wouldn't feel better. Like I just would kind of feel the same. Like maybe I had a temporary release, but nothing shifted. So what I realized is that I wasn't actually moving the energy. And how we have to actually move energy when we release emotion is we need to be out of judgment. Because anytime we're in judgment, it goes back in, because it can't be released unless we're in the energetic of, I like to say, compassion, love, any of those things. So most of us, when we cry or we get mad, there's not a part of us going, it's okay, let it out. I got you. It's okay. It's more, I hate this. I hate crying. When is this going to be over? We're judging ourselves. We're judging the situation. We're having commentary about the emotion. We're making it mean something. We're blaming ourselves. We're blaming another person. We're having guilt. Like there's this whole thing going on mentally while the emotion is moving. And so the emotion tries to come up and out, and then it hits all this mental judgment. It's like, whoop, just goes back in. Because if you think of like kids, and I have a 3-year-old, so I'm really attuned to just how emotions work, right? And I see the energy move. And when I try to control that or stop it in any way, it either amplifies or I can see or shut it down. When I just hold space for it and I'm like, I'm here, baby. I'm here. I see you're angry. I see you're sad. It will move. It will just, she'll feel it. It'll move and I'll see it just go. And then she's free of it. And we don't do that for ourselves. It comes up, we judge it, we have an opinion about it, we want it to stop, it reminds us of something, it triggers something, and so it just whoop, goes back in. And so learning how to move, especially anger and grief, anger and sadness, rage and sadness, all those things with compassion, like really being in that compassionate place so we can actually release it, then we actually make space for the love, the forgiveness, all of those things. And that's the other piece of it is we don't forgive ourselves and we don't forgive others because we believe that forgiving means condoning what happened. And as you know, it doesn't. It just means that we're not holding the judgment anymore. We're forgiving ourselves for buying into the beliefs or misunderstandings that are lodging things in place. And often we hold on to emotion because we think it protects us. Like if I stay mad at my perpetrator or whoever hurt me, then I'm going to protect myself from it ever happening again. If I actually forgive it, then I become vulnerable. This is all super subconscious. But when we actually get to the forgiveness, then that's another way the emotion can actually release.
If someone is listening, and it's funny because I just had a conversation with somebody who told me, she said, I realized, and I never realized this, how much I judge my emotions. She had this whole illumination. So I'm sure people are listening saying, I do that. How do you actually get to that place of allowing yourself to feel your feelings with that energy of love? If somebody feels like, okay, I hear you, but how do I genuinely get there?
Practice.
Okay.
Practice. And I really think that it helps. I mean, this is why I run the retreat that I do for women, because this is such an epidemic among women is even though we're called emotional, we are very emotionally constipated. And that robs us from our passion. It affects our health. It affects our ability to manifest what we actually really want. I mean, the list goes on and on. So whether it's a retreat or a therapist or a coach, like having someone that can actually hold space for you creates safety. Because a lot of times when we're starting to feel feelings, why we judge them is because if we really surrender to emotion, there's a fear of, am I going to go back in my trauma? Am I opening up a box here that I'm not going to be able to get out of? Am I going to go insane? I mean, these are legitimate fears that we have. So being with a guide, being with someone that can help, like really hold that space for you. I mean, when I was getting off antidepressants in my late 20s, my first spiritual teacher and coach, her name's Mona Miller. Unfortunately, she passed over 10 years ago. She really taught me how to release emotions. And she would sit with me when I would like hit a pillow and scream and cry. And we weren't talking about things. I'm mad because, I'm sad because. We were really getting at the feelings, and not like a rage room, a very specific way of allowing feelings to come up. And just having a loving presence that I knew had my back and that I wasn't going to go into like some dark abyss of sadness gave me the comfort of knowing I can do it. Like, again, my daughter, she is really learning how to jump and how to take bigger risks. And a lot of times she'll assess something and she's like, Mom, safety check. And she likes me to hold her pinky and just have some lifeline to her to see if she can do it. And then she's like, I got it. And she can do it on her own. Sometimes we need that. we need another person. And this is one of my fears with AI, is that people are going to that for coaching and therapy, and you're missing the transmission of love from another energetic body and a person that can really hold for you. And most likely you're going to end up recycling.
Yeah. Well, the AI thing keeps it really mental.
Really mental.
And to your point, it's even without somebody guiding you, when you're in a space of someone who's just holding the container with love, and I'm sure people listening have felt this, you just naturally start to open up, and people like, why am I crying?
Yes, exactly.
Like, I didn't, because you feel it.
Yes.
You feel the energy.
Love heals.
Yeah. So this is really connected to a really big question that often gets asked here. When, you know, you were saying, I realized, like, I'm not God. I'm gonna trust that I get sent my soul match. This question of how do I surrender? How do I surrender? That's the question. And how would you answer that?
High intention, low attachment. So to me, surrendering and resignation get confused. Resignation is, I'm just gonna surrender and trust that God will deliver. What are you doing? Like, what? What are you saying yes to? You know, where are you putting your energy? You know, even though I was surrendered, when I was calling in my husband, I talked about it. Like, I'd be on podcasts and people are like, what are you up to in life? I'm like, I'm calling in my man. Like, I'm calling in my husband. And again, that's not me being super attached. That's not me doing anything. That's just me claiming and putting energy towards what I like. You know, I said yes to things. I check in with my body. Like, I wouldn't go to an event if I didn't want to go to an event just because with the hopes of meeting someone, because then your energy is a mismatch anyway. I would really follow my yes. But it's like I put energy into it. So, but again, I didn't have an attachment. So, for example, if I did, you know, really feel like, you know, I'm going to go to this event because there's a kind of, this is the event that a man I would be drawn to might go to. And I'd go, and if nothing happened, I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm never going to meet my person. You know, that's the attachment piece. And then also, I think surrendering, when we surrender, we're not giving energy to the lack. We're not focused on what's missing. Because when we have that attachment, we're really focused on what we don't have versus what we do. When we're surrendered, it's like, it's done. It already is. It exists, and it exists. It's just in this time-space reality that I'm currently in. It's not like here, but it's here. So I feel it. So I would feel the feeling of being in a relationship as if it was already done. And I was surrendered to me being the one that had to make it happen.
How much of this is connected to your relationship with yourself and your relationship with the divine, source, God, whatever you want to use? Because, you know, I know the things that people in the community say, and as you're talking, I like, you know, I hear telepathically the resistance, right? Well, I'm getting older and I feel like I'm running out of time. So how do I release attachment? There's a lot of that. How do I do this? How do I do that? For me, a lot of it is my relationship with myself. And so I'm curious what your perspective is on that, like being able to live without that attachment. And living in trust.
Well, what brought me so much peace was my relationship with myself. I'm like, okay, how am I going to call in a great partnership if I don't enjoy myself in my life? Like, I'm not a match to a great partnership unless I already am a great partner. And no one's going to find me really desirable and fun unless I'm finding myself desirable and fun. So I really nurtured the relationship with myself. And in my moments where I felt scared or sad, I intentionally carved out time to feel those feelings so that they didn't continue to percolate and you know, get me in an energetic loophole where I got back into victim and hopeless, helpless, right? So I wasn't like perfectly like in this great state of surrender and manifestation all the time. Those fears came up. Those concerns came up. I go to a wedding and be the only single person, and, you know, I'd have some stuff come up around. And instead of going, oh no, I'm repelling or getting into this fear about not having my energy perfect, I would just really honor what I was feeling. I'd be like, how would I want my man to be with me in this moment? Okay, I'm going to be with myself that way in this moment. And then I'd move myself out of it, and I'd repair and move on. And so I was seeding the way I wanted a relationship to be, because things come up in a relationship. There's arguments. And the biggest thing, as John Gottman says, the key to a healthy relationship is how well you repair. So when things would come up, fears, beliefs about age or whatever, or I need to do more or whatever, I would come back and repair that. And I talked to God a lot. Mm-hmm. And I talked to my person. I talked to my man a lot as well, out loud when things would come up. And, I think when it comes to, I don't know that there's one global definition for surrender. I think we all have to look at individually where we cling and where the fear gets us. And that's really our edge, and that's really our work.
Yeah. When it comes to embodying your feminine energy, because when I hear you talk, right, this is all just, how can I be in my feminine energy with my partner if I am not in my feminine energy with the divine? Right. I'm not allowing myself to receive and be safe there and be held there. Was that difficult for you learning that, or is that something you've always been embodied in?
Oh, no. It was a process. I very much was the doer and appeared feminine looking, but I don't think and this is where it gets kind of confusing, because I don't think I was a masculine. I think I was hypervigilant. So oftentimes women get told you're in your masculine energy, but you're actually really not. You're in your hypervigilance, which appears masculine. But true masculine energy doesn't deplete us, right? It's direct, it's thorough, it's linear, it's consistent, it holds a lot of space, it's very grounded. Hypervigilance is more the doing, busy kind of striving for the next achievement, the next sense of like safety, those kinds of things. And so for me, I really had to I had a lot of misconceptions about what feminine energy was. I thought that if I was in my feminine energy, I wasn't going to be successful. And like nothing could be farther from the truth in terms of how powerful feminine energy is. But it felt like a demotion for some reason. And so I had to unlearn a lot of what I thought feminine energy was. And for me, I didn't necessarily have to focus on what is feminine energy. I had to heal the hypervigilance. And once I healed the hypervigilance, my feminine essence just naturally emerged from that.
Yeah. What were some mindset shifts or realizations that you had that have allowed you to be in this like powerhouse relationship, right? You're a coach. You inherently hold space for people. You have a really successful business and career. Like when you were kind of relearning that, okay, so you're releasing the emotion, you're healing some of this hypervigilance, did it naturally all shift, or are there things that you had to shift in terms of habit, like in the moment with your partner to maintain that polarity?
Yes, there's definitely things I had to shift. Mindset wise, a big thing for me was it's okay if people don't like me, because I have a big wound around belonging and rejection. And so the people liking me thing has been huge for me to like really, it's okay if someone judges me. It's okay if someone doesn't like me. Like I'm okay. Not it's okay, but I'm okay. And so that's been a big thing for me. In my partnership, I've really had to watch old codependent patterns of it's easier just to go along to get along. That's a big one for me. And to actually be like, actually, no, it's not. And to learn how to call a man forward, not by emasculating him. Like have those boundaries, because what's modeled for most women is either hold it all in or castrate.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot in between that's modeled big time. It exists, but we just don't see it a lot. I think generations are shifting that as more people are doing their work and seeing relationship as like there's two people and then there's this third entity of the relationship, right? And so I've had to watch not withholding, not being covert, because my husband is definitely overt. He's Greek Italian. He he does not hold things in. And so we're a perfect match because I can do the covert thing and I can withhold. But then that looks really good. But what I'm doing is building resentment. So while he's going blah, I'm going blah, but just in a bucket over here of resentment that eventually I'm just going to throw on him and he's not going to know what's coming, right? And so I've had to learn how to get out of those patterns and learn how to speak to him, not speak up for myself because you don't want to get in that dynamic in a relationship, but speak my truth in a way that doesn't emasculate him. And a big way that I do that is by saying how I'm interpreting his behavior. Like he does something, I'm like, okay, what I'm making what you just said mean is this. Is that actually what you mean? Yeah. Or what I'm making your choice to do that mean is this. Is that really what you mean? That's a lot different than saying, I can't believe you just did that. You're so blah, 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 blah. And I also noticed that when I'm actually communicating, not being covert, using the tools of relationship, I'm less controlling of him.
Yeah.
Because again, control, hypervigilance, it's a trauma response. So if I'm feeling unsettled in the relationship at all, that's going to come up.
I'm so curious with the two of you because you both coach on relationships. So has there ever been, like, genuine question, has there ever been a time where your beliefs about what a healthy relationship looks like conflict?
We've disagreed, but not on our values.
Okay. Yeah.
Not on our values.
Yeah.
I think the biggest place we've had trouble is in managing parenting because he comes from a more traditional we both come from traditional backgrounds, but he's not wired to be a stay-at-home dad. And I'm like, but you didn't marry a stay-at-home mom. So we gotta figure this out. And that's been the biggest place because I think at times there's a part of him that would love, to have a wife that cooked really, Greek Italian, and just took care of the kid and he could just work, even though he is a great dad and loves being with our daughter. So I think that in terms of where that's come up a little bit is just like what's a man's role and what's a woman's role. I'm like, we are recreating this and we're modeling something different for our daughter. And that's where it's been a bit clunky and we've had to get help around that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are in that position of having to create that for themselves because there aren't models of that. And I totally get that's a work in progress, right?
It is. And women end up carrying a huge mental load. As you know, another superpower of the divine feminine is adaptability, but we overdo it and we take on way too much and there's so much in our head. Yeah. And it's another thing that builds resentment in a relationship.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that connects a lot to the other big topic I wanted to make sure we covered, which is identity. And we can start here because it's related to motherhood. And yeah, I think identity with, if you love your career and then I mean, I'm not a mom, so I don't know, but I imagine, right, that's going to bring up a lot when you're a mom about your identity. And again, one of the big conversations from this weekend was, this transition everybody goes through at many points in their lives of, okay, I've built my life identifying as this version of myself. A lot of this weekend, it was more, I've built my life running this huge company and now I'm retiring. Who am I? Or I see this a lot with professional athletes who are retiring, right? I've been an athlete. My worth is attached to how well I play. And now I'm not doing that anymore. Who am I? And kind of this question around what are the skills to navigate that shift in identity? Because there's a lot of fear that comes up, like, who am I now? And so I would love for you to speak to that transition in life and ways that you support people in that.
Yeah, I think, life is a series of transitions. And that's difficult for us because as much as we like change, we hate it.
Yeah.
Like we like the change that we want, but change can be tricky because especially to like our inner child, consistency. I mean, if you look at transitions with kids, transitions are really hard for kids. And that doesn't change because we're an adult. We just have better ways of masking it and denying our feelings around it. So one thing that has been so helpful for me, because I've had so many identity shifts in relationship and health stuff and motherhood and career changes and so many different things, is to like, one, not freak out in the in-between. Like I would say I'm in a very in-between stage right now in my life. And those used to really scare me because I'm like, what's next? Like, who am I becoming? And when you are becoming, you don't know. And the more you try to control that, the more you block your next soul evolution of who you are to express. So I've moved away from who am I to what wants to come through me. And it's a relief.
Yeah.
To live from that place, because when we identify with, you know, whose parent we are or how much money we make or who we're in relationship with or what we do with our career, there's so much riding on it and it's so much pressure. And we miss out on, like, how does the universe want to express through me? And like, what does it look like to just enjoy me in this? And I think so that's more the spiritual part of us. And then the human part of us, I think it's really important to grieve. Like when I had a baby, I did not expect to have so much grief because everybody says it's blissful and it's supposed to be the happiest time of your life. But I had my daughter at 44. I had basically my whole adult life and a whole career of doing whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And then it changed in an instant. I mean, it changes in an instant. And it was like, oh my, where did I go? Where did my freedom go? Like, and I'm good at things. What is this? I don't know how to do this. And so it was confronting on a lot of levels. And what prolonged it is I didn't give myself time to really grieve because I felt so much grief. I'm like, I can't grieve. I should be so grateful. I got pregnant easily. I had this home birth, like I should be so grateful for this child. But when I actually took some space and it wasn't just a day, like it was a process, and actually grieved without guilt, moving into this next chapter of my life became a lot easier. And then I wasn't in two worlds, because a lot of times, like the retired athlete or the retired CEO or whatever it is, you've got one hand in two worlds. You're still trying to cling to where you've been, but you're trying to grasp for where you're going, and you're straddling. And that produces a lot of anxiety. So when we can just let go, I remember when I was going through my divorce, there was my ex-husband and this rebound person. They had the same name. I know, isn't it?
Can't make that up.
And it was like my name. Okay, so I'm Christine. They're both Chris's.
Oh my
God. And I remember I was like trying to choose, and I had this dream where I was like Tarzan on a branch, swinging from one to the other and the other and the other. And then I heard from God, source, universe, whoever, just let go. And I'm like, but if I let go, I'm going to fall. And the voice said, that's the point. And I let go, and I ended up moving away from both and was in a transition time. And that's exactly what I needed. So sometimes we have to let go of where we've been and let go of where we're grasping to be, and be okay in the in-between, and be okay in the uncertainty, and just be like, my identity is becoming. Like, I don't know. And like, that's okay. That's really okay. Because when we're not trying to control it, then what wants to come through has an easier route.
100%. We just got to get out of the way, right? And it's always, I have a friend who always says, well, what's the third option? Like, really just pointing to, there are so many other things that could happen, and we like to think it's this or that, and we get locked into, should I do this or should I do that? Is it this person or that person? And yeah, there's a third option, and there's a fourth and a fifth, and so many others, but we forget that.
Yeah.
We forget that. And I love what you said about, what wants to move through me, what wants to come through me. I realize that within myself so often. Like, why am I so often in my head trying to figure things out or decide things that I don't need to decide or I don't need to figure out? Right. And when you realize that, I'm like, I don't have to figure any of that out. It's just going to move through. It's just going to be revealed. It calms down everything in your system, you know? And I'm curious how much for you, when we talk about healing or shifting energy, there are these realizations we make mentally and on an energetic level. And there's the process of actually releasing emotions that you spoke to instead of recycling. How much of this do you feel like is within the body and released versus a mental shift?
Most of it's in the body.
Yeah.
Again, that's why like I host a physical retreat, because there's things I cannot do with people virtually. You know,
let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well, virtual's great.
I love this.
You know, Zoom is great.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure you can read energy virtually as well, but there's something about being in the physical space and having a similar intention and doing somatic work, because why I like to do it in group format is because nervous systems respond to nervous systems. And also there's an imprint we have from our family of origin nervous system, and we have to recode that. And the only way to recode that is to be around other nervous systems and have like a new imprint of how like to feel in our nervous system and our body. And I think that a lot of people, and I'm nothing against therapy or coaching, like it's my industry. I love it. I think we can spend a lot of time talking about things and getting nowhere, where I can guide like in one day through a bunch of somatic things, and then it evolves into breath work. Women move so much, decades of pain and energy released from their body. Before the retreat got to be bigger, we take before and after pictures from a Friday to a Sunday, and people looked physically different. We had to start taking pictures to prove it to people, because so much was moved, and we didn't talk about anything. There was no talking. The body remembers. I think the body keeps score. Like there are so many teachers that tell us that. And there's so much, that our subconscious holds that's tied, the body's like the communicator between the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. And I think we can get lost in trying to figure it out and trying to solve it and trying to, have answers, when really the body just needs a release, because it's just holding so much.
Yeah. The physical shift, people ask me about this all the time, because I had a pretty dramatic physical change for a number of reasons. One was just like my physical health for sure, but I tell people it was just energy work. And like for me, that's how I open the space for my body to release. But and I remember when I first kind of was getting into this world, my friend, she said, if I cry, my face completely deflames. It's like, you just get a real cry and you release your fear, you feel all of your fear. She goes, I swear to God, I lose all the inflammation in my face. Yeah. And it was after she said that I started to notice that within myself, when I actually released emotion. A cry to release, not to recycle. Literally my face would look different. My eyes would look different. My cheeks would look different. Everything looked different. And that is so powerful to see within yourself, right? Because it's real evidence of, whoa, I was holding all of that. I think especially as women, we hold
so much, and not just our own stuff. Like we're carrying generational stuff, we're carrying stuff we picked up, especially for empathic. We have open systems of any kind. If we were the only person in our family that was open, like there's a lot we hold. And I truly believe that with the epidemic of autoimmune and chronic fatigue, like all the autoimmune, cortisol, inflammation related things that so many women are dealing with right now are because of pent up emotion. I am certain I would not have gotten pregnant at 44 if I hadn't done the emotional release work and somatic work that I've done.
Wow.
I can't say I'm certain, but it feels very much like there was a rejuvenation, like my cells reversed in age. Because I really cleared a lot of space.
Well, it's the physical representation of what we're talking about, spiritually, of I'm going to get out of the way. I'm gonna release the blocks I've put up.
Yes.
And just allow it to flow through.
Yes. And in that we release toxins.
Yeah.
We release, telomeres get
Yeah.
Ben Greenfield will know about this, but it's good for our telomeres.
Yeah.
Or whatever they're called.
It all goes back to the telomeres.
It's just good.
Yeah. Can you talk about what the difference is between, because I've heard you speak about this, like emotional release versus catharsis. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, and that's what a lot of like workshops do, is just catharsis. Like, we're all gonna scream right now, and look, sometimes it feels good to scream, and sometimes it feels really good to hit stuff, and it can be a great release. And if you want to go deeper and actually get to the anger and the rage that you're carrying because of things that happened, there needs to be a bit of a journey arc to it. And it needs to be attached to, without like reliving the memories, needs to be attached to what you're actually like angry about, so you can move the energy. Because just screaming and breaking stuff, again, is a great release. But like a true emotional anger release has an arc to it, so that you're actually connecting who you're angry at, what you're angry about. And if you actually do it correctly, you will end up either in a beautiful cry release or an ecstasy, like true joy. And after I take women through the anger ceremony burn, that's like so amazing. I wish I could video it, because it's like feminine power it is the essence of feminine power. One of the expressions of feminine power, right? Because there's lots of expressions of it. But the ecstasy women get to, like pure, not just woohoo, not just like from an adrenaline, but like the relief of the burdens they've carried for decades, lifetimes. It's like, oh, there you are. Hi. Great to see you again. You know? It's beautiful.
Well, and when you describe it like that, like you see the difference in people that I think do a lot of the catharsis, because they're still angry right after.
Right. And same thing with like, nothing against plant medicines, but kind of the same thing. You have that like injection into something, but where's the container? Where's the integration? Where's the process, so that the loop can be closed, you know? Don't get me started.
Don't get me started. Truly, don't get me started. Like, they don't need to hear it again. But I'm
sure we agree.
I'm sure we agree on that 100%. We've talked a lot about like the power of having that safe space. How do you set up a safe space with yourself, right? Because this is something that's important to do consistently, right? And so having a coach and having containers is powerful. If somebody is like, okay, I'm gonna do that, and also like, how do I set that up for myself at home where I feel safe? What would you say to that?
Well, everybody knows what their nervous system relaxes in. For me, it's walking. Yeah, it's walking. So if I really need an emotional release, I'll go someplace where I'm not going to see a lot of people. I'll put headphones in if I need to like voice something, like, so people think I'm talking to someone, if I need to like verbalize things. But I'll go have a good cry or an anger release or whatever, like as I'm walking. Like I'll move energy that way. I used to, when I was really at the beginning of my process, and had a lot of anger, I had a pillow and a foam noodle, noodles for swimming, cut it in half, makes a great whacker. And I had a stuffed animal and a journal and some Kleenex, and I would just like had a little room, a closet that I would be my processing room, and I would just get it out, let it out. I'm actually setting something up like that for my daughter. So she has a place where she can learn how to like move her feelings and move energy and actually release it. So creating a safe space can look any way you want it to look based on your nervous system. Like maybe your bath is your safe space, and you can watch the water drain out of the tub as like a ritual of like letting go of whatever you cried out in that moment. It doesn't have to be, I think we overcomplicate things. Like creating safety in your system doesn't have to be super complicated. You have a natural propensity to things that calm you. leverage those things, because that's where your system's going to feel safest to release.
Yeah. And I think also allowing it if it's like weird. I think a lot of people, it's again a mental thing.
Of course.
What should I do?
Yeah.
And for me, there are all kinds of just very specific things, and I don't know why, but it just lets me drop into it. So you just honor it, you know? And I think just allowing that. I think about, when I was little, I would just feel this, you get that energy moving through you. And I would tell my mom, I need to lock myself in my room. And I would run upstairs, lock myself in my room. And I just knew I needed to run around like the Tasmanian devil and punch my bed and do it for 20 minutes and scream. And then I would just relax and come downstairs all calm. And I just knew that within myself and I didn't judge it. And I always think about that and how you get older and you start to judge it. And it's interesting because my mom would be like, why are you doing that? And I look back, I'm like, it was so good. I did that.
So brilliant.
And I knew what to do.
It was so brilliant.
I knew it wasn't about anyone else. I knew I was just like, I would say, I need to go lock myself in my room for 20 minutes and just have a tantrum, and it would be done. But then the adults around me would be like, why are you doing that? So they didn't use this language, but it was like, this is so unhinged, calm down. But I'm like, wow, like that's what I needed to do.
That was brilliant. Yeah. I mean, in Expectation Hangover, I write the adult version of a temper tantrum. That's really what we need. We need more of, is to let ourselves like have that emotional release. And now we have the science behind it. I mean, so much of it is about parenting, but I'd love the science to be like, adults need this too, because they talk about how if you have a kid that's overstimulated, oversensitive, which PS I think all kids are. Yeah. You don't want to try to calm them down. Like, they don't need hugs and stories. They need to like push a chair or whack something or be swung upside down or like move big pillows or walk on a balance beam or jump off really high things. Yeah. Because their vestibular system is craving input and really, really needs that. And so, especially as women, we're trying to like calm it when really we need to move it.
Yeah. Well, and so much of that, I think, with the parents is their own capacity to hold space for emotions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Parents get very uncomfortable with their kids' emotions, uncomfortable and embarrassed. And so, I see it all the time. And like, I never judge, because parenting is freaking hard and everybody's doing the best they can. But I see like the good girl thing starting early. Oh, honey, give her that. She wants that. Even though, like, no, don't give her. She was happy with that. Like, she doesn't have to. Yeah. Or like, pay attention to your teacher. They're 3. They're not supposed to line up in a little line. Yeah. It starts so early. Be good, hold it inside, make sure other people are okay. And so I'm trying to learn the balance between not raising an asshole. Like, I want her to be like a kind human, but also really honoring, like, not being a people pleaser either. And I think a lot of women are perfectionists and people pleasers and overachievers and don't even know that they're really lost in that.
100%. I think it's going to be so interesting, this next kind of generation of work around parenting. Like, I'm curious in 10 years, right? Like, what are the skills you're going to bring forward to offer people? Because I feel like we're in this really interesting space where we have a generation of people that, I mean, not everybody, but have actually done a lot of healing and have a lot of self-awareness and are now looking at kids really differently and creating a new playbook that we haven't really had before. Right. Like, I think that balance that you're talking about, I'm super curious about. Like, what's that balance between you want them to, be nice and loving to everybody and inclusive and not be an asshole, but you also don't want them to be a pushover or be people pleasing.
Well, and I think, and as consciousness is happening, there's things kids are experiencing that maybe we've experienced in the past but haven't had language for, or that are new. Like, my kid, I think, I could be wrong, I think she astral travels in her sleep. She leaves her body. Yeah. And so sometimes her return and her wake up is really bad. Yeah. It's really jarring. And it takes me about an hour and a half, takes us about an hour and a half, her and I, to get her back on her body. And she is angry and she is upset and she wants nothing. And like, there's no sleep book, no pediatrician really that can explain that. And I'm grateful I have some idea of what's happening. And so, like, It's like, I know it, and it's not a behavior thing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times this is where so many of us, when we look back on how we were parenting, there were things that were happening to us that were uncontrollable, that we're told we were bad, we were misbehaving in some way, or we weren't good in some way. And I think that's moved us away from our gifts and our natural abilities, because we're like, oh, that's not okay. Okay, I guess I need to be this way. So kind of like back to identity, I think a lot of people's identities aren't their identities. They're masks that they've had to wear over time. And that's why the transition can feel jarring. It's because like, oh, wait, I'm taking off.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty vulnerable to be in that place.
Oh, it is. The sleep thing we should talk about, because I can relate to that. That was my whole childhood. I'm gonna
have you on speed dial.
Yeah, it is. She's lucky to have you to help her with that, and even I think to explain that to her, because I know I was a lot more conscious than any adult around me would realize, you know. And if I had somebody to explain things to me about what was happening, like a lot of my parents said it's just a nightmare. No, it was a past life experience. It was a parallel lifetime experience. No, I was astral traveling. No, there was that thing in my room. And just to be validated in that. And then, I have tools of how am I going to kind of regulate myself. But a lot of it was just being validated, right? Or having language. So, because if somebody had said to me, you know, hey, this isn't happening right now. You did have an experience of, you know, perceiving a different life.
Right.
That would have regulated me a lot more than it was just a nightmare. You're fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was a lot of you're crazy or your dreams are too much. We can't deal with these. And a lot of mine were other lifetime connected. Like it was drowning in Atlantis every single night, and it was getting burned at the stake every single night. Yeah. And I was so paranoid. I said I needed a fire ladder in my room. I kept asking my parents if they would buy a submarine because we were all going to go underwater. And I was scared every single night to go to sleep because of what was going to happen. Because I didn't understand that there were different realities going on.
Yeah.
And
how old were you?
I mean, this was going on from the time I was probably 2 to, like 8 or 9, really, really badly when I was, I mean, I have full memory, right? When I was, 1, it was different. I was more just overstimulated by everybody else around me. And then the astral part was, around 2 was when it started turning on really intensely. So I think even just that validation for me would have been so helpful.
That's so helpful to hear.
Yeah. We can talk about it. Happy to offer any perspective. I think it's really like, I feel really strongly about this because I have all my memory from that time. And I talk to a lot of parents and they're describing things and go, I had that same thing, and I don't have the answer, but I think it helps. Often when I talk to the parent about how I felt, they just intuitively know what would be supportive, because the child doesn't always have language.
That's true. Yeah.
But, for me now, I have language to what I was experiencing. And I remember it like yesterday.
I'm so glad you remember. That's such a gift.
Yeah, me too. I wasn't at the time, but I
of course
now.
Not. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so I feel really strongly about that with these kids coming in,
Well, I think that's why it's so important for anybody who wants to be a parent to really learn how to be with your own big feelings and learn how to regulate your nervous system. Yeah. Because that's my biggest job, is to keep myself regulated when she's dysregulated. Because I'm her anchor. Yeah.
Well, and she can feel your response to it.
Absolutely. She can feel everything.
Right? Like if your energetic response, no matter what you're saying, is you're crazy or you're too much. Like if you feel that, even if you're saying it's fine, but you feel like this is too much, that's what she hears. And that's the truth. And I know that's tough for a parent to hear, but I'm just telling you, like as the kid that remembered, my mom, even she's, it's fine, calm down. What I heard, because I felt was gotta deal with this again. Yeah. Even when she said, it's okay, you can cry. Yeah. I felt I got to deal with this again. Because she didn't have the tools. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I know that can be hard for parents to hear, but...
Well, it can be hard to do. It can be hard to do, because I just want to validate the moms out there, because
it is.
I'm not perfect at this. And especially when you're sleep deprived and you've got a million things on your mind, and, your kid... Because the other thing that happens with these switched on kids, that some people call neurodivergent or whatever. I think we're really expanding our awareness and language around that as well, is when they go through developmental leaps, it gets even worse.
Yeah.
And it can be really challenging because you're like, where'd my kid go? Why are they so like, you know, whining and not sleeping and overtired and emotionally reactive? Is because this highly sensitive kid with all these spiritual switches on is also having to do the human thing.
Yep.
At the same time and like develop their brain. And it's a lot. And so there are moments I get frustrated with my daughter.
Yeah.
And actually when I do, I'm like, Athena, I'm feeling frustrated, not with you. I'm just feeling frustrated. I'm going to go in the other room for a few minutes. I'll be back. And I have to just give myself some space. And I don't think any parent can expect them to be like regulated and perfect all the time. But the data is, if you really are good like 60 to 70% of the time, like that's enough. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can do that. I can totally do that, because we can get into another hypervigilant pattern of perfectionism with parenting. Yeah. And I've really had to watch that on myself. Like, it's okay if I get frustrated sometimes. Yeah. It's okay if like I'm not perfect and I don't get it right all the time. Like, we're learning this together, but we can repair. And I think that's a really good thing to teach. We talked about it in relationships, but for parents too, like repair. Like Athena knows repair. She knows what I'm sorry's are, and do you accept my apology, and is there anything you need? And like, we can do that, you know, instead of like messing up and feeling shame, which just amplifies it. Yeah.
Well, and I think that honesty is such an important example, like that to see, you know, as a child, oh, mom is showing it's okay to feel frustrated. And, you know, I know myself as a kid, it was the dissonance between what you're saying and what you're feeling, right? Had she been like, I am frustrated with this, like I wish I could help you, and I'm gonna sit with you in this, but like I'm frustrated too, and we're gonna figure this out. Like, that honesty like makes you feel safe, right? Versus pretending to feel a different way. Right. So I mean, I think that's amazing, you know, like that example of, she, like, mom is showing me she doesn't have everything figured out, and that's okay. And then she knows that she needs to take space. Right. And I think that's great. But it's a tough thing to navigate. I'm like, it is, you know, it's a gift. Everybody wants to remember everything. It's a gift to forget when you drop in here, because to your point, doing the human development thing is enough.
Yeah, it is.
It is. So, but you know, you can let me know if you have any questions.
Believe me, you're going to get a text from me. Yeah. Be like, okay, tell me what's going on here. Yeah. Well, I'm learning with her.
She's magical. She's going to be, she's lucky to have you guys. Well, so you have your retreat coming up in October.
I do, in San Diego.
Yeah. Tell people, and you shared a bit about it, but tell people, who is this for? Yeah. Yeah. And how can they learn more?
Well, any woman listening, it's for. Yeah. Like, for sure. And I do this live event for a lot of the reasons we listed, including women need to be together. We need to come together, not just socially. We need to come together, and I don't want to say do work together, but it's like, it's nurturing our emotional body, like paying attention to the things that we don't pay attention to, and come together and release and receive, like it, and do, you know, be in containers together and go through initiations together, because it's part of what makes us feminine, and we are very deprived of it in our current modern world, incredibly deprived of it. And it's not something you get through social media or through a WhatsApp group. You really need the in-person thing. And I, you know, was in therapy, again, not to diss therapy, but I was in therapy from age 10 till my 30s. I was on antidepressants from age 11 until it took me 2 years to get off. So like 28 to 30. And it is this work that shifted things for me. And that I continue to go back to. And it's like it's an emotional cleanse. It's a spiritual cleanse. And I know so many women are wanting, like, feel stuck or wanting clarity, or, you know, just feel like nothing's really wrong, but nothing feels right either. So for a lot of women, it's a huge reset. And the other thing that's a little different about this retreat is that it's very feminine, There's no forcing. There's no, you're going to go to your edge and have a breakdown so you have a breakthrough. It's very like gentle but powerful. My whole thing is safety. My whole thing is like, especially for women who've had trauma, like not re-traumatizing.
Yeah.
And it also heals a lot of the sister wound, because a lot of women just don't want to be in a room full of women and have a lot of like fear and wounding around that. And women make lifetime friends. Yeah. And I have an incredible staff, like incredible women that just hold. And there's so much spiritual support that comes in. And I've done it at the same place for years. And so I even feel like the room knows us now.
Yeah. Oh, it does. I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really beautiful.
Where is it?
It's at Paradise Point.
Okay.
Yeah. In San Diego. So close to the airport, easy for people to get to.
Yeah.
Friday afternoon through a Sunday morning. You can come in Friday morning, fly out Sunday night. Easy peasy. Yeah. Decades of therapy in a weekend.
100%. And I think people like, it's like you don't understand how powerful that can be until you go. It's like one weekend can shift everything. And I just can't reemphasize what you've said enough about like this in person, being in a safe container. Yeah. And there's so much healing just in being able to show up to a space. Like you've designed this so you don't have to worry about it. Like, you know, you're not going to be forced into anything. You just show up and you get to receive.
Really receive and really be loved.
Yeah.
And a lot of objections will come up. Like I went to Egypt in April, May. And I had so many objections. It was a really expensive trip. I have a young daughter that I was going to be really far away from for 2.5 weeks. So a lot of mom guilt came up, excuse after excuse. But then something in me was like, you need to go. Like, you really need to go. And I didn't know how much I needed it until I went, and everything was fine, you know? And it is like saying yes to those big, again, not like scary stretches, not like I'm going to re-traumatize myself or feel forced, but saying yes to ourselves. Because one thing we do as women is we make up a lot of excuses for how we need to be there for other people, and we don't show up for ourselves.
Yeah, 100%.
Or invest in ourselves. Women are not great at that.
The power of a yes, to your point earlier, right? Not resignation, but saying yes.
Yeah. And believing that your highest ROI is on yourself, truly, and not like, you wouldn't think about spending on your kid, right? It's like, why are we? And the retreat isn't. I mean, it's completely reasonable, but that's the objection I see. Not even about the retreat. This is another topic, like the objection women have to investing in ourselves and like really carving out time, space, and money for ourselves on something intangible, you know, is I'd like to shift that. I'd like more women to really claim I am worthy of receiving.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say when you do it, then you realize how tangible it is, because it changes your marriage, it changes your friendships, it changes how you parent, it changes your career, it changes your finances big time. And you're like, wow, that was actually the most tangible thing I could have done.
I know.
Because I shifted how I show up.
Right.
I
had 3 major things shift in my work after I got back from Egypt. I did nothing work-wise while I was there, but my frequency shifted.
Yeah. Well, we love a frequency shift around here.
You know?
Yeah. So many frequency shifts in this episode. Oh. Thank you so much. This is amazing. I can talk to you
for having me. Likewise.
Forever. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
We'll put all the links in the show notes for everybody, for your retreat, other offerings that are related to what we talked about, your books. But this one I just reread, so amazing. And we'll put all of that there. Thank you for being here.
Oh, and thank you for not shutting down. Like you came in with a lot of light, and it would have been easy to switch that off. And you didn't, and that's really courageous, and it just makes me emotional, because I know that was not easy.
Oh,
so
thank you. I appreciate that. You're gonna make me cry. All right, that's a wrap.